would have told me 20 years ago that one of the most defining and transformational moments of my life would have started with asking someone I care about what they hated most about me, I probably would have said,
"Donnie, you're out of your element!"
I'm willing to bet that pretty much nobody ever thinks to themselves, oh, I need to go ask the people I care about what they hate most about me. But that's precisely why it's so damn important. And it's why we're going to do just that. Welcome to the blind spot. But first, it's time for a flashback. Too far. I thought I destroyed that. Aww. Okay, that's better. The year was 2003. My wife, kids, and I all lived in a single-wide trailer, and I was heading into my sophomore year of college. I had just invited a friend over for a weekend of nerdery. We were taking a break from our nerdery as we stood outside on the lush green AstroTurf, drinking our cheap beer and talking about old times. He was saying something that I'm pretty sure was super important to him, but of course my mind was just wandering off thinking about something else, and then he stopped mid-sentence and he said,
Josh, I hate it when you do that.
What'd I do?
Your eyes glaze over and I can totally tell that you're thinking about the next thing that you want to say after I'm done.
Of course, I was shocked. And I'm like, me? I don't do that. Of course, at that moment, I look over at my wife, and she's like, yep.
You do it all the time, man. It drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah? Well, if I do it all the time, then why hasn't anyone ever told me about it? Huh, smart guy?
Because anytime anybody criticizes you, you turn into a total
What? No. I look over at my wife, and at that moment, she's still nodding. Yep, it's true. You really are an Not satisfied with their assessments of my defensive nature, the next day I decided to call up an old friend and ask him. He had known me for probably about 12 years at that time, and when I asked him the same question, he verified their revelation. 28 years old. And all of a sudden I discovered this blind spot that I had that apparently everybody else knew about, except for me. So the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I could trace all of my failed relationships back to the fact that A, I was a defensive listener, and or B, I was kind of a jerk when anybody criticized me. But as soon as I became self-aware about this, I made a decision to change. Of course, it took me years to break the habits that I had built up over the course of almost 3 decades. And it wasn't always pleasant to be reminded that this was a habit I was still doing. But this one thing cascaded into a whole series of sweeping changes, all of which led me to a greater sense of self-awareness, as well as control over who I was and how others saw me. Here's the blind spot challenge. Choose someone you care about. Could be a friend, a partner, a romantic interest, a family member, a coach, a teammate, a coworker, anybody that you care about really. But choose someone with whom you'd like to improve your relationship. Invite that person to a meal, a good meal preferably, not just fast food, but something that requires a little bit more time and effort. As you begin your meal, tell that person you have a really important question for them. Explain that the only ground rule for that question and the way that they answer it is that you are not allowed to be defensive in any way. The only responses that you are allowed to have with this other person are clarifying questions to continue the conversation. Absolutely no getting defensive. Then, pop the question. Aww. Whoa, wrong question. Ask that other person, what is the one thing about me that bugs you the most? Then sit back and listen. Notice how you feel leading up to the question. Note the thoughts that arise as the other person responds. Do you feel the urge to defend yourself? If you do feel defensive, how does it feel to resist those urges and allow them to pass without acting upon them? Then, after the meal, write down whatever the other person said. After you write that down and summarize it, try to trace the root of whatever that behavior is. Figure out where it comes from, what causes it. Reflect on what you might need to do to change it. And once you've summarized that and written it all down, rip that piece of paper out and destroy it. Slice it, dice it. burn it, run it over with your car, mangle it with a chainsaw. No matter how you choose to destroy it, notice how it feels, if only symbolically, to destroy that behavior that may get in the way of a more healthy relationship with that person, and maybe even others. This may be the hardest activity you complete as we move our way through this 16-part series, but it's also the one that may prove to be the most profound and life-changing. You all know the routine. Like this video if you like where we're heading, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you next time.